Call to order the April 30th Lititz Borough Council meeting. Mayor, would you like to take the invocation and the pledge?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Helen Cookie from Hosanna Church, located on Greenacre Road. She will be giving us the invocation this evening.
Good evening. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you with gratitude tonight, knowing that you hear us. Thanks for being with us right now in this very room. You never leave us or forsake us. Thank you for every person we meet, every citizen of this town. Thank you for the calling you have given us to be good stewards of your creation, to love our neighbors as ourselves. Tonight, we especially thank you for our Lititz leaders. Give them wisdom and guidance as they make decisions on our behalf. Give them divine guidance and bless them abundantly for the many hours that they have devoted and are devoting to leading, protecting, and enriching our community. We thank you for our Mayor, Timothy Snyder, our managers, our borough staff, our borough council, our first responders, our chief, Nye, and his staff, hospital staff, and many others who work hard to keep Lititz beautiful and thriving. We pray all of this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Would you please rise for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic under God.
All right, the first thing on the agenda is the review and the approval of the March meeting minute.
I'd like to move that the meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. All right, we have to kick off tonight. We have 3 presentations, and the first one is from the Lititz Public Library.
Good evening, and thank you for having me and offering this chance to speak to you. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard the news that I will be leaving Lititz Public Library. Next week, May 10th, will be my last day.
I didn't get a chance to do an introduction, but if I could just introduce Ryan McCrory, the current director, for the people in the audience who do not know Ryan. And if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself before you get started.
Sure. So I've been library director here in Lititz for 5 years. First day was April 29th of 2019. So literally 5 years and 1 day ago at this point. I will be leaving here, taking over as executive director of the 8 libraries of Dauphin County Library System and being the district administrator for the 22 libraries in the capital area district of Dauphin, Perry, and Cumberland. So that's where I'm heading off to. So my reason for being here tonight is basically give you an update on where we are and where we're going. I had sent out a sheet with some stats on it, and I've passed that out to you before the meeting here. I do have a few extras if anybody in the crowd would like one when I'm done. Basically, almost 50% of Lititz Public Library, or almost 50% of Lititz residents have a public library card. 48%, just under 4,500. And on the back of that sheet, you'll see how many items, and that's physical items, those residents checked out last year, 91,500 and some change. If you take the average cost of those items, Lititz residents that used the library saved a little over $2 million by using the library rather than buying those materials. That's books, CDs, audiobooks, Chromebooks, hotspots, various electronic games, and learning devices for children, all told a little over $2 million. So the return on investment that this Borough Council gets in the money that it invests in the library is between $40 and $50 on each dollar that we receive from the Borough Council. So I want to thank you all for your support. Both in the past and hopefully in the future. And I presented all that to let you know that we are extremely good stewards with the money that we receive from you all. The other big news is basically that this is our 25th anniversary of being in the new location on Kissel Hill. We've spent the first half of the year basically celebrating those 25 years. We started off with a presentation on the history of the Moravian Star and its importance to the community. We've had a number of events and programs talking about the history of libraries and how we've gotten here. We're going to pivot after our birthday party, which is on June 1st, Saturday. Please come out from 10 to 4 or 11 to 4, I believe. We will have face painting, balloon animals, some food trucks, a bouncy house, some birthday cake, birthday cookies, etc. So we'll be celebrating that. And then from then on, this year is going to be more looking at where we go from here. We'll have some presentations on what we hope to see. I can give you a hint of that now. It's going to be meeting rooms. It's going to be new carpet, fresh paint, some repairs on the roof, redesign of the front desk and work area, a nice patio to make further use, or a nice walkway to make further use of our back patio, and hopefully a new entrance. We have a number of folks that come in and out of that front door from ages 3 to 93. And they're in all different shapes and sizes and mobility capabilities. And it's a lot of people to go in and out of that small space with double doors that fly out rather than some nice sliding doors. So we've got some ideas on what we want to see, and all of that will be going on in the next half of this year. So the other thing, and then I will turn it over to our board chair to have a couple of words, but as I was thinking about this is the last presentation that I'm going to give to the Borough Council. Number one, I wanted to thank this Borough Council and all the prior Borough Councils for the support they've given the library and the support that they've given me while I've been director. But I looked back at my 2019 presentation and I printed it out, and you all have a copy of it as well. What struck me was in what is essentially a 5-minute presentation, I used the word possible, possibility, or possibilities 5 times in a 5-minute presentation. And I think that speaks to what I think about libraries, which is that they are in fact places of possibility. They allow us to imagine and see things that aren't in front of us. And without that, none of us would be here today. Geographic exploration, technological, scientific advancements, and even the social and civic experiment that is the United States would not have been possible if we limited what people dreamed of as possible. So I want that to stick in people's minds as we talk about a lot of the things that are going on in terms of limiting access to information. And that's the second thing that I highlighted in my talk from 5 years ago, before all the recent hullabaloo over access to information, which is even 5 years ago, I said that libraries provided free access to information in safe and welcoming environments, free of judgment, and without fear of reprisal or censorship. I said that 5 years ago. I believed it 5 years ago. I believe it now, and I'll believe it when I die. That's what I think about libraries. They're here to provide free and equitable access to all, and they are places of possibility. Do not limit possibility of what we can do in the future.
Thank you, Rory.
Yes, I'm Lynette Mack, and current library board chair. And I just want to thank Ryan too for 5
Ryan.
years of really excellent work for the library, and to you, the borough, for the solid support that you've given. We couldn't function the way we do without that kind of community support. So thank you for that. And I also want to let you know that we formed a search committee, and they are already at work to find a new executive director. And in the meantime, we have long-term, very capable staff at the library who know exactly what they will need to do to keep the library functions and activities going smoothly in the meantime. So thank you.
And thank you for your leadership during this time. And please let us know how we can help you and your board, and we look forward to helping you celebrate. And Ryan McCrory, thank you for your service to the borough and for your commitment to the community through that service.
Hey, Ryan, this is Ken. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, he
Hey, I
can.
just want to say congratulations, Ryan, on the opportunity to serve the Dauphin County in that new position. I've enjoyed working with you. You've been a great resource and asset to our community. And I want to thank you for your service and good luck in the new opportunity. You'll be missed.
Absolutely. Seen some great things you've done over the years here, and we really do appreciate we missed, and I'm sure we'll hopefully find a good candidate to fill your shoes. Just curious, how many staff members are there right now that support? Okay. Just trying to think of how many people are going to do your job until they find a new you. All right, anything else in the library? If not, we're going to move on to presentation number 2, Project Lifesaver Recognition. I believe there are some folks here for that.
Face you or face the audience?
However you feel comfortable.
Well, okay. Well, I'm Marge Thomas and this is Valerie Calhoun. And we're members of the Pilot Club of Lancaster. And we appreciate this opportunity to thank your police department for their commitment and collaboration with Project Lifesaver of Lancaster County. May we ask Chief Nye to come up to join us. Okay. Project Lifesaver was launched in the county in October 2012. Can I just see a hand who's have heard that word before? Project Lifesaver? A few people have heard of it. Okay. Your Lititz Police Department has been involved since 2016, in October, I think it was, and we're very grateful. The Pilot Club of Lancaster is committed to the service behind this emergency response public safety program for those at risk to wander. Individuals are enrolled due to cognitive challenges such as autism, Down syndrome, dementia, Alzheimer's, and others. Each enrollee wears a personalized watch-like wristband or anklet. And if that enrollee would wander from the safety of their home, and just remember, a lot of these children especially do not speak. They're autistic, they don't speak, so they can't always tell you where they're going. They just leave. They leave their home or school, it's 911 is called, and your local police certified and trained respond to this with their specialized equipment. It's a radio frequency equipment, and it finds children and adults within usually a 30-minute time span. The search starts and a safe rescue is highly likely. What a relief to caregivers and families. What a wonderful safety net for at-risk citizens. The motto is bringing your loved ones home safely. We have a certificate we want to present to Officer Nye. You want to read that?
This is presented to the Lititz Borough Police Department in appreciation of your extraordinary dedication and service to the Pilot Club of Lancaster Incorporated and Project Lifesaver of Lancaster County, bringing your loved ones home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We brought some brochures and I'll leave them up here at the desk if you want to look for more information. And we have close to 70 clients, children and adults that are enrolled throughout all Lancaster County. And the Pilot Club, a group of, what do we have, 35 members. We do the initial contracts and we make sure they qualify and sign these clients up. And then the police take over if they need to, because then we change their batteries every 60 days. So we're involved right through their lifespan.
And we currently have 2 enrollees from Lititz Borough, and because there's only 2, they have their maintenance done with the Manheim Township at the Manheim Township Police Department with about 12 others.
The maintenance is a 60-day, a battery that lasts around 60 days. So they come in and we give them a new bracelet because it gets kind of icky and dirty, especially with the kids. And then we give them a new battery and then the people at home, the caregivers at home test that battery every day and document that it is still blinking so that it's ready to be activated if need be. So we have a little.
And these are lifesavers.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you for all your
Thank you.
dedication.
Appreciate it.
Okay, and do I give these to you?
Yes. I'll take care
Okay.
of it.
There's, okay, we have a website. Lancaster County has a website, or the Pilot Club has a website. So the little disc is on there. It's kind of more than I can handle, but I'm still typing in. But that officer and I has that if you need it. Okay, thank you for your attention. Thank you, board.
Thank you
I
both for,
lived in
Thank
Lititz
you.
for 20 years, so I
Oh,
love
great.
Lititz. I now live in Manheim. I bought a
thank you
farm
both
over
for
there.
coming and
You didn't have-
wrecking.
you didn't have any farms here, so.
It used to be years and years ago.
I just want to thank the Pilot Club. They are a dedicated group of women that they meet quite often, quarterly. I'm an operator myself, and we just got Megan Blank to be an operator also. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of the thing with antennas that come out and you track them, and it's difficult to do. But I do mention with older folks getting a lot of dementia these days, if you have somebody that's a wanderer, sign up for this Pilot Club. They'll come out and take care of everything. It's free, or is there a cost to it?
Well, there's a cost, but if you can't afford it,
Okay.
we subsidize a lot of.
Yeah, this is a nationwide program. It's all over the country. I think it was started in what, down south, North Carolina, Yeah.
State of
Virginia.
is covered.
Okay.
by-
But
Unfortunately, right.
a lot of autistic children are bound towards water, and that the quicker we can get out and look for them, the better off.
We
Thank-
we have some real runners.
Yeah, you do. Thank you.
Chief, we each month we continue to learn more and more what you guys do, and we thank you guys for showing that appreciation to Chief. We love our police department and unique qualities they bring to our community. All right,
Thank
you don't want to stay for, you're only the second thing. We have many more if you want to stay.
Thank you.
All right, great segue on to our third presentation, the Lititz Police Department Annual Report. I believe Sergeant Hahn is going to come up and give a very wonderful presentation for those of you who have not seen this in the past.
All those. Try to live up to them. First, thank you to the staff and elected leadership of the borough and citizens who are present. The presentation of our annual accountability report every year is something that I look forward to. We put a lot of time and effort into it because we want it to be something that the leadership in the community is proud of. We want it to display what we've done during the year. So this year's report, we released it publicly a few weeks ago. I'm happy to be here tonight to present on it. It's 37 pages. I'd love to speak to every page, but in the interest of time, and I know there's a lot of other business, I'm going to highlight some of the points that I think are particularly important. And if there's any questions at the end or discussion, I'd be happy to speak to them from the floor. So the report this year, the design of it centered around the 2015 President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. And essentially what that report was, it was commissioned by President Barack Obama at the time, and he tasked law enforcement leaders and professionals from all over the country to establish a roadmap, if you will, of the best practices that law enforcement agencies can put into place to effectively reduce crime while at the same time building and maintaining positive relationships with the community. So that report itself is divided up into 6 different pillars. So that's building public trust and legitimacy, policy and oversight, technology and social media, community policing and crime reduction, training and education, and officer wellness. So as you look through our report from last year, we took each of those pillars and then mapped out the contents and the recommendation of those pillars to what the agency has done both last year and even further into the past. So what we wanted to demonstrate was that we're taking these recommendations and we're meaningfully acting on them. We're putting forth policies, procedures, strategic initiatives that line up with what the report recommends as best practices. They're measurable, they're able to be understood easily by people who might not have necessarily the technical knowledge of the job. So we felt it was important to demonstrate to the community that we take those recommendations seriously, but then we're actually acting on them and providing the proof, if you will, that we're putting these strategies into place. The other area I wanted to highlight is we put information on there about crime statistics from last year. We put a trend line on reported crime for the last 15 years. So that's on page 22 if you do want to look at it. But we're proud to say that over the last 15 years, there's a downward trend in the number of crimes reported. For us, that's important because that is a major component of what we do as law enforcement. We want to not only address actual safety within the community, but also perceived safety. Two different things, but equally important. So the numbers are what they are, and we think that demonstrates that the officers are out there doing a good job, being responsive to what the community expects of their police, but then also being proactive and engaged with the community to co-produce public safety, because we can't do it alone. If we're going to be as effective as possible, we have to have those relationships with the community. And that involves, again, going back to public trust and legitimacy. The community has to feel that they can report things to us, provide sensitive or confidential information to us, and that we're trusted to act on that information and do the right thing with it. And we think that the data shows that that's happening. The other area of the report, we have information about traffic and car crashes. We know that's typically an area of concern for the community. So when we look at traffic safety issues and car crashes, we look at it through what we call the 3 E's: enforcement, education, and engineering. Our traffic safety strategy can't simply be enforcement, because simply writing tickets alone is not going to be an effective solution. It involves education, it involves communication to the community as far as what issues we're seeing, what they can do to help us, but then also to work with the elected leadership to implement engineering strategies that can reduce traffic violations, traffic crashes. So some of that crash and traffic enforcement data is in there as well. We call it the annual accountability reporting, but we subscribe to the belief that accountability is not just a once-a-year thing. We believe it's an everyday responsibility that we have. So we talk on the report about our website, litzpd.org. We've been very intentional about building that website out to be a public hub, if you will, of agency information, transparency. We want at any given moment for somebody from the community or from council to be able to go to our website and find whatever it is that they might be looking for. So we speak to that on the report, and some of the things that we've done with the website is we publish a daily event log. It's posted the day after the previous day, and anybody could go onto the website and see a daily listing of the activity that the police department's engaged in. We publish on a quarterly basis data about who is charged with the crime, different demographics that people are typically questioning who's getting arrested. And we compare those arrest demographics to the census data so people can draw a conclusion. That analysis is required by accreditation standards. We're required to do it once a year. As an agency, we elect to do it more frequently on a quarterly basis and then publish that data on a quarterly basis. There is no publishing mandate. We just feel it's important to do it because it's data that is relevant, and we want to convey those trustworthy motives and those trustworthy actions. We also have all of our annual reports so people can take a look year to year and compare data from one year to the next. And then we also have an open records hub. The Office of Open Records, which administers Pennsylvania's right to know law, has identified 9 best practices that agencies can implement to fill and provide public information. As an agency, we felt it was important to meet or exceed all 9 of those best practices. So we have information about what those 9 practices are and what the agency does to meet them. We discussed a little bit about staffing, recruitment, retention. We had 3 officers last year that went through the police academy. They graduated towards the end of the year. They've started beginning of this year and have just about finished up field training. So, we highlight some of their successes. We also highlight crisis intervention training, or CIT. We're one of the few agencies in Lancaster County that every single officer has gone through crisis intervention training. So it doesn't matter if the chief of police responds to your call or the newest officer. No matter who responds to your call, that officer has been trained in crisis intervention training. That is important because it allows our officers to better understand mental health, what crisis looks like, ways to successfully de-escalate the crisis, and then other ways that we can get that person into a service that might better serve their crisis in that moment than the criminal justice system. So having a holistic approach and having different tools and resources and supports available for us to implement, not only does it give our officers more options, but it also, in our opinion, creates better outcomes for the community. And then also last year, we were awarded premier accreditation status. And what that is the top tier level of law enforcement accreditation in the Commonwealth. So to give a little bit of perspective, there's 120 standards, and within those standards, there's 300 substandards. So for a total, there's 370 best practices that we have to meet. So every 3 years, which is the cycle of the accreditation, a team of outside assessors they could be anywhere within the Commonwealth, come in, they spend a couple of weeks looking at the agency, looking at our policies, looking at our reports, looking at pretty much everything from one corner of the department to another. And they're verifying that we're complying with every one of those 370 best practices. So it provides an outside look to make sure that we're doing what we say we're doing. So in the Commonwealth, there's about 1,150 police departments. Currently, there's 167 that are accredited and 30 that have achieved that top tier of premier level. So I'm proud to say that last year we became the first, and for a period of time, the only borough police department in the entire Commonwealth that achieved that top tier level of accreditation. There's a second borough now, but we can always say that we were the first. So that's it in a nutshell. I try to condense 37 pages of very granular information into a short presentation. If there's something I didn't speak to, or there's a question that you'd like me to address, I'd be happy to.
Well, Jared, I always appreciate your presentation. You put a lot of information in these reports every year. What I appreciate is that you put it into information that we can understand and go through here. I'm a numbers guy. I love the metrics and the charts, and I offer to any of you, because this is on the website, take a look at it. There's a lot of information in there. One thing I was happy to see too, that you showed that the downward trend of crime over the 50 years. The one thing that I was trying to understand was looking at the other chart on, I think, page 25, was it, where it was saying the 10-year dispatch trend was going up, but yet the crime is going down.
Correct. Yeah. So the dispatch trend, what that number means is the total number of dispatched activities that the agency is assigned to. And that filter is equally applied amongst every department in the county because it's created by Lancaster Countywide Dispatch, which is the 911 system. So when you look at that number, you can take that same filter and apply it throughout the whole county. So for us, while crime is down, that's good. We're also a lot busier than we were 10 years ago too. So, we have a dedicated group of officers. They're meeting the challenges of the day. And, we think equally as important to the crime data is the activity. So, and again, I go back to, we publish daily an event log Monday for the weekend prior, but people can go onto the website any given day, take a look at what happened the prior day. And again, we just think it's important that the data is out there publicly.
Yep. The only other question I had was, obviously the communities, wants to be aware of any kind of trends with going on here, but obviously people are often paying attention to the traffic and, with the continued growth of the community. I was trying to analyze, I think on page 29 is a lot of the traffic information. Is there any unique trends that have, there was nothing shown year by year by year to say, okay, we have 10 times more of this or less of this. Is there anything you're seeing?
No, I mean, nothing, no significant statistic changes, which is good because, if we were to see an increase in traffic crashes and increase in fatalities, certainly they'd start ringing a lot of alarms. The last traffic fatality here in the borough was about 6 years ago, and we had a run of 3 to 4 years that we had a traffic fatality every single year. So to deviate away from that trend is certainly good.
Right.
We try to take a granular approach to our traffic enforcement. It's simply not just writing tickets haphazardly or without any sort of purpose. So we analyze contributing factors towards crashes, what's causing our crashes, where the crashes are happening. So that then can drive our proactive traffic initiatives. So for example, if we know that 25% of all of our crashes are the result of somebody not stopping at a stop sign properly, that then can drive certain directed patrol initiatives to monitor stop sign compliances and then act accordingly.
Right.
But again, and akin to the enforcement is also the education and the engineering piece of it, because simply writing tickets alone is not going to be an effective solution. So we need the community to be involved with us to know what our intentions are, what the problems are, and we try to communicate all of that through the website and provide data that's both timely and accurate.
I'm reading the one chart here correctly. Most of the crashes happen around 3 o'clock, and I kind of have an assumption why that might be occurring.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot more traffic, and people are often in a hurry to go wherever it is that they're going at that time of day, from home from work or whatever other leisure activities. So yeah, and we try to take we look at all those pieces of data and really try to, like I said, drive what our proactive efforts are.
Steve, I just want to say I had the privilege a couple of weeks ago of riding with one of your officers to find out a little bit what they do in a shift. It was an evening shift, Thursday evening. And it was very interesting because the officer that I rode with grew up in Lititz. He's from the area. His family's here. And as we rode around town, he would tell me who lives here, who lives there. He said, well, let's go over here to the park and check out some things. I know that sometimes youth put beer bottles in these bushes. And so we went and checked out that to see what was going on there. Said, well, it's 11:30. It's probably time to just sit here and watch to see when the bars close. You never know what's going to happen with that. He knew our community really well. And my point is that if anything would have been out of the ordinary, he would have picked it up right away. So that's what we really refer to as community policing, understanding our community. So I just wanted to let Chief know and your officers know how much, as a citizen, I appreciate the fact that you pay attention to what's going on in our community. He was very gracious, and we had an interesting time together.
It's good to hear that.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Just want to say kudos to the department for the premier status. That's awesome. 30 out of, that's amazing. I think that deserves a clap. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's something we're proud of, but it truly does. I mean, it is a team effort. Everybody plays a part. I mean, accreditation touches every level, every corner of the agency. It's not something that's just imposed on an agency. It really does require a cultural buy-in, and it's not a rubber stamp. I mean, unfortunately, there are agencies who can't achieve it or can't maintain it. We've been accredited since February of 2008. So the longevity in the program, I think, demonstrates the commitment that the agency has to it.
Any other, before I open it up to the public? Council members have any specific questions for Sergeant Hahn? Now I see someone in the back. Do you want to come on up and?
So both traffic circles are actually out in Warwick Township, which is covered by a different police department. So we don't necessarily have statistical data related to their crashes. So say, for example, pre and post traffic circles. So I'd be a little hesitant to speak on it only because I don't have information that I could tell you is accurate. Lititz PD, as in policedepartment.org. And if you ever look at one of our police cars, if anyone's curious what the QR codes are on them, if you scan the QR code on any of the police cars that are parked out front, it'll take you directly to our website. there's nothing else. I'd just like to simply close by saying, both to elected and staff leadership in the community, we, as an agency, we understand and we appreciate the significant investments that are made into us financially, human resources, and trust and support. So although the report contained a lot of granular data, we hope the takeaway from it, from the 50,000 foot view, if you will, is that the agency takes that seriously, that we try to put into place meaningful and measurable returns on those investments. So we're proud of the service that we provide to the community. We're proud of the relationship that we have with the community and council, and we hope that's conveyed through our report.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
All right, that's concludes the presentations. We have no ordinances. We have one resolution, and I believe we have some folks here from the YWCA that have to share with us. Does that not bend down there?
I don't want to break it. There we go.
There you go.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I'm Natalie Pacheco, Communications and Community Outreach Specialist with YWCA's Lancaster Sexual Assault Prevention and Counseling Center. I'm here with my colleagues Emily Gracie, Legal Advocate, and Adriana Rodriguez, Medical Advocate. We are honored to have such strong partners in Lititz as we continue to raise awareness about sexual assault, advocate for victims, survivors to receive justice, and provide no-cost counseling to anyone impacted by sexual abuse, harassment, assault, whether indirectly or directly. For more than 35 years, YWCA Lancaster has served as the Sexual Assault Crisis Center for Lancaster County. In partnership with area hospitals, universities, law enforcement offices, and more, we've helped tens of thousands in the Lancaster community on their journey towards healing and justice. Despite this, our challenge remains. Calls to our 24-hour locally operated sexual assault hotline remains our county's first line of support for victim survivors. In the past year alone, we've answered 179 calls and engaged with more than 5,000 individuals of all genders and identities with our services. Black women and women of color are disproportionately likely to experience sexual assault in their lifetimes, as you may have seen from our equity profile of Lancaster County released last year. Black Lancastrians have an average life expectancy 5 years shorter than white Lancastrians. As we've seen in recent event, threats against the LGBTQ plus community members are increasing, a population that is disproportionately targeted and impacted by sexual abuse, harassment, and assault. These challenges are systemic, but they're not intractable. Thanks to great partners like the Lititz Borough Council and agencies across the county, YWCA Lancaster has been able to expand our programming and meet emergent community needs through efforts like the District Attorney's Human Trafficking Task Force and our new legal assistance for victims programs through the U.S. Department of Justice. We are proud to work with so many dedicated partners across the industry and sector to achieve our mission of eliminating racism, empowering women, and supporting victim survivors of all kinds to create a just future for Lancaster County. And again, thank you so much for this honor to be able to speak with you today, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have anything? Okay. Well, thank you. And I know you've been working with Elijah over the past couple of months. We're trying to find the appropriate time to get you guys in here. I apologize. It's at the end of the month, so we could go through this resolution for the making April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Christine's going to go ahead and go through the resolution.
This is resolution number 987, the Borough of Lititz, Lancaster County, a resolution recognizing April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month and calling on the citizens of Lititz to build a community where sexual abuse, harassment, and assault is not tolerated, where victim survivors are supported, where accountability is delivered, and where all people have an opportunity to thrive without fear of abuse or assault. This resolution also recognizes the YWCA Lancaster Sexual Assault Prevention and Counseling Center as Lancaster County's designated rape crisis center, providing services to victim survivors and providing education and prevention services to address sexual violence across our region. I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 987.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your work and service.
You definitely need to get a picture. If anyone would like to be in it.
Council, do we want to?
Sure.
For a picture?
Sorry, it's a necessity.
Prove you were here, right?
Yes. Sure. Where should? Over there. Yeah, sure.
All right, I believe that is it with presentations, ordinances, resolutions, and agreements. So we're going to move on to council members forum. And Ken, hopefully you can hear me, but you're first on deck, water and wastewater.
Well, good evening, Steve. Good evening, everyone. Yes, we'd like to present the waste, water, and water services report tonight. Nate is with us from Infomart. We'll have his report, and it'll be followed by 3 committee reports. Nate, good evening.
Thankfully, nothing too earth-shattering. As stated before, this time of year, tend to have to run the biosolids dryer every week. So chemical costs and utilities costs, at least for the wastewater plant, are elevated this time of year. So that's part of the report you'll see. We finished the first quarter of PFAS sampling. All 3 well sources were pretty much the same, below a 2.5. That's way below even the EPA's new standards that just came out. Let's see. The only other main thing we had to decommission. So we had an old sodium bisulfite. It's you put it in the water to take the chlorine out. So at the wastewater plant, when the wastewater plant used to use gaseous chlorine for disinfection, we had to feed sodium bisulfite before applying the effluent into the Lititz run. So since that time, we haven't used the tank. We were finally able to decommission it and get it removed from the facility. And then the only other thing, major thing, was water plant staff. I think that was towards the beginning of the month, we noticed a drastic increase of water at the water plant. And we were able to notify the street crew, and they went around. Of course, we didn't see anything until they really saw it, and were able to fix a fairly large break that was actually on the line to Johnson Kenview. And now the water flows back to normal at the water plant, which is good. And that was about it.
Hey, thank you, Nate.
That's all I had.
Any questions from council?
No.
Okay, hearing and seeing none. I'd like to make a motion to approve the March Infomark report for the Lititz Borough water treatment and wastewater facilities.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Hey, we have three committee reports, and first up tonight is the MS4 report, and Mary is going to bring that to us. Mary, good evening.
Good evening. On behalf of the MS4, which is Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, and the Stormwater Committee, we have one major item to report, and that is that the application for the grant for the stormwater basin behind the rec center was submitted. I want to commend Jordan and the team for all the work that went into getting that in, and we've got our fingers crossed, hoping that that grant comes through to help pay for that basin for us. It was, I think the total was around 270. That sound right?
Yeah, 270.
$270,000 grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. So be waiting to hear about that. And that's all I have.
Hey, thanks, Mary. Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed. That would be a nice funding to have. Steve, the second item on our report tonight is the Water Sewer Committee report. We meet monthly, and our meeting was on April 16th. Just a couple items to keep people updated with. We've reported on 24 East Orange Street and some of the water service challenges there. Rob has engineered a new solution. It's a short-term solution that will utilize lock boxes for each service line so we can maintain the integrity there. But a long-term solution is yet to come, and Rob would like to shed some light on that tonight. Rob, could you bring us up to speed, please?
Right. So real quick, Intech and Tyler from Public Works have been doing a lot of due diligence there. And our first thought was we had to put in some meter pits in front of the properties behind 24 East Orange Street. We have since found out that there is actually basements in those properties. Originally, we thought they were slab on grade, so you had to put a meter pit in. So we think that potentially long term, we can probably get into those basements and put those service lines in. The biggest hurdle would be easements between each of the three properties. And that'll take time, and certainly nothing that we had budgeted for this fiscal year.
For both the temporary and the permanent solution, I'm assuming we've talked to those owners and the people affected there.
We talked to specifically 24 East Orange. We are in the process of doing the other two properties right now to make sure that they're aware of it, document it, those type of things.
Okay. Anything else, Ken?
Thank you, Rob. Yes, a couple other items here. One is one of the goals for the Water and Wastewater Services Committee is to follow the federal mandates and remove a lot of the lead gooseneck lines that are located throughout the community. So that's one of our goals this year. And so one of the streets that's receiving that treatment this year is Front Street. And I've asked Rob, he's got some current updates from Andy to share with everybody where we stand with the water replacement line and the lead line removal. Rob, back to you.
Yeah, so Andy just gave me this report this morning. I can certainly give you guys, everybody, a hard copy, but I'm just going to read this as he has it. The guys have run into a good amount of rock in the ditch, which slows progress. They are grateful for the mini John Deere excavator and jackhammer as it helped them get through all of this rock. Also, unmarked, unused gas lines have been a problem. As they're digging, if they hit something that's unmarked, they have to wait for UGI to come out, confirm that it is a deadline, not a lot of line in use, and that takes time. It's usually a couple 3 hours. As of today, there is 680 feet of main in the ground with 150 feet to go. New fire hydrants and water services will be done once the water main is completely installed. The guys are doing a really nice job. And that's it from Andy.
Rob.
Any questions from council? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Rob, thank you very much. Give Andy our best. We appreciate the work. Just a quick update, the culvert projects, Lincoln Avenue culvert has been repaired, and now now we're changing our focus and working on the Cedar Street side. And so work has started, and no difficulties have been reported. So we hope to get that complete here later this year. Final committee report is the Lititz Borough Authority meeting. We meet quarterly, and our last meeting was Thursday, April 25th. The majority of the meeting was just discussing some of the maintenance and repairs that we're engaging in. We also were pleased that Infomart came in. We had two requests for purchases. One was for the clarifier drive replacement, and that came in under budget, and we spent $26,000. And then the sludge dryer thermal oil system also was budgeted, but came in under budget at $27,000. So we appreciate that. Steve, to wrap things up for the Borough Authority report is that the Bonfil Annual Well Report was submitted to the Susquehanna River Basin Commission. And that completes my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Definitely sounds like you've been pretty busy going amongst all those different committees. Any council members, any questions for Ken? Okay. Moving on, Tanea, streets and traffic.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So first off is the Layman Street parking restriction request. On Sunday, April 21st, borough staff, myself, WESC and Public Works employees met with residents about an ongoing request to restrict parking to one side of Layman Street. So after about 2 hours of discussion, the residents that attended appeared to be in a consensus with the proposal of restricting parking areas along Layman Street. So if you look at the photograph, the red line, so Layman Street, everybody's following where Layman Street is there. Okay. So currently, is Mike here? I see you. Okay. In case I have any questions. Currently, it's parking on both sides, and it is really, really tight. Everybody has to park perfect for plows, leaf pickup, and if you have a fire, the fire truck can make it down there, but they can't really work off of the sides of the fire truck. So we met with them to see what their thoughts were with the residents, and we were thinking here about blocking off so the red lines would be the parking restricted parking. We'd have to put signs up, and you'll see. So at least they can kind of stagger. And Mike, you felt pretty good that you could get that fire truck up through that if you do stagger in that position. So thoughts from council, questions we can talk about?
Just so I'm understanding, so you're saying it's not just saying, all right, no one's going to park on the north side or the south side. It's going to alternate as you're going down through segment. I would just ask why.
I'll tell you at least one part that we came up with. So the farthest north, top left side, that is the tightest place to make that turn for a lot of the plows and the bigger equipment. So we definitely wanted to, and there's less houses on the right side of that red line. Obviously, there's only one that faces, I think, Cedar, and none that really face Layman. Is that correct what I'm looking at? Okay. So we figured to put parking on the left-hand side would make the most sense. Now, if you bring it down here to the middle section where you see where the red line is, Mike, he did some good data over about a 2-week period that showed technically all of the individuals that live on that street could park all on one side. Some residents had concerns. They wanted to be able to park in front of their home. So we kind of came up with a proposal of at least we staggered. There's more houses, as you can see on the upper part of Layman. There's 4 houses directly there. So those people could park basically in front of their home. And then if we stagger and have a little bit more parking down to the right bottom side of Layman. I think we figure you could fit about 4 or 5 parking spaces in there.
Were any of the residents in those 4 houses on this, I guess, the south side in attendance there? Again, I want to make sure that we weren't just hearing from people from the north side and not the south side.
Yes.
That wouldn't be getting the parking. That's the way I'm interpreting that. Those 4 houses would not get parking right in front of their house.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say the farthest right one has their house. They have parking off street and behind their homes.
Oh, you're right.
Am
I think there's
am I
an
saying that
alley
right,
goes behind
Elijah?
all of those.
I don't know that we had all 4, but I believe
Right.
there was at least 2 there that
Showed
were
up.
saying that they have off-street parking.
That's a good point. There is an alley that goes behind.
Yes.
Yeah, right where Chief's Hand is.
Yes. It's just a really, really narrow road. And I think there's been complaints for a long time, but we finally have some data just to show that is there anything you want to add, Mike, at all to anything we were talking about with the residents?
No, I don't think there's anything I need to add. I mean, I think, what you've presented today is exactly where we're at. And, the bottom line is we tried to be as accommodating as possible based on the feedback that we got at the site meeting. These were the areas where they identified that they wanted to be able to park. We explained that would most likely result in an inefficiency because where we have the switchback, we're actually going to probably lose a parking space because we're going to need to make sure we allow enough transition to go from one side to the other through that serpentine. But that appeared to be acceptable based on the people who attended the site meeting. So we felt that even though it may seem a little odd jumping from one side to the other, and in fact a little inefficient, it appeared to be the most acceptable, desirable result to the residents.
How has any thought been given to how it will be designated? Will there be no parking signs? Will there be yellow curbs? Any thought to that and its impact on the community visually, as well as conveying the restriction? Okay. Okay.
And I don't know where we put Elijah too. I don't know if you would know, would we mark parking spaces or just like, lines that would
That
designate
was one of the
exactly-
requests that at least one neighbor made.
Right.
So that's ultimately up to council whether they like to do that or not. We don't do it most places outside of the downtown, but
Right.
this is sort of an atypical street.
Yeah, I think the last time we did it was down here in Orange Street when we took away some parking so that we can maximize the parking efficiently, use the space remaining there because we're taking away some parking space. But yeah, we don't typically do that everywhere other than on Broad.
Just thinking about the 3: enforcement, education, and engineering, and how those 3 can work together to have the least visual impact on the community in terms of the aesthetic there. Signs can be a little disruptive in our neighborhoods and not look the best, but we want to make sure people are educated and understand where they should park and where they shouldn't park. And so maybe we can spend a little bit of time thinking about that a little bit more.
Have you guys come up with a proposed, this is proposed where to park, not to park? Any of the questions, I guess, that are coming up about signs, striping, yellow curb, how we're going to delineate it?
Haven't gotten that part of it, unless you have any ideas, or Elijah does.
I would say whatever works best. And I would look to the chief if he thinks that's going to be the best. It may help to have the on-street parking spaces because then there's another visual. The only thing about that is there is an expense. If it's not thermoplast, it's going to wear off very quickly. And so that becomes a maintenance item.
The good thing is the thermoplast will wear off on a very well-traveled road. But I would hope, that's not that busy.
But paint will wear off much quicker than thermoplast.
I know, I agree. The visual, again, since you're going to get rid of whatever 3 or 4 spaces in different areas, delineated, people are more efficient using the space that remains. Are you looking for us to make a decision tonight on that or all of the above?
Well,
I guess I'm looking to, this originally came from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we want to work with streets and traffic. I mean, the process, I think, has worked out very well so far. It's just a matter of making sure we keep this moving and go about it the right way. So, I mean, if there needs to be a proposal from Public Works or the police department or how that happens, I mean, I think the first step would be, are we all in agreement that this is the solution? If that is the solution, then step two becomes, okay, how do we implement this solution?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the best solution if that's what most of the residents, voiced. My concern is, okay, if there was, how many people attended? How many residents, roughly?
I'd say around a dozen
People or a dozen different households?
people.
So I'm just trying to.
there's only, what,
to-
7 homes on that block to begin with?
And we had a
Okay.
few of the
8,
neighbors
one-
that, we had one neighbor that was fronting on Cedar, one of them that was fronting on Water Street.
If I'm looking, you've got 5 on the north there, 4, so you got 9, then you have the 2 up there, so 11. Let's say you probably have roughly 10 to 12 households affected. I just want to make sure we heard from the majority of the household.
I would say we heard from a majority of the households.
And I was
based on the
assuming
record.
there was I saw some chatter in the back. I was going to come to you guys because I know I was assuming some of the residents were here. So that was the only thing back to the question of, is this the right solution? I would say it's the right solution if the majority of the residents are in agreement. And then I think if we get to that point, I would like to see a proposal of exactly what signs, line striping, et cetera, before we, agree and approve on something. So
Yeah.
before I go to the residents, I just want to, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think ultimately, Andy and Chief Nye and possibly even Scott Hain, need to weigh in on what that appropriate solution is.
Yep.
For signage,
Agree.
striping, whatever.
Mhm.
Anything else from council members before
Well, I
I?
was just gonna say, I drove up there today. It is a very narrow street
Yeah.
and if you had cars parked on both sides, I don't think they could pass and emergency equipment couldn't get through. So thank you to people who are working on a solution and to the effort you made to get community input. I know that's not easy to do and you try to do as much as you can, but at some point you need to make a decision and move on, particularly for public safety purposes.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the narrower streets in the borough, that have parking on both sides, so.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mike, you told me that at this point, your policy states if there's a fire in the middle of that street, you will have to park at the end of Lehman. and
Correct.
drag
I mean, we
everything.
can't, that's right. I mean, we don't know what the situation is going to look like. So, the policy as it is right now is that they are to be prepared based on the address. We know enough about the mapping to know which end of the street is going to be our best access point, and they are to be prepared to stop on either North Cedar Street or Water Street, and the equipment has to be brought in from there.
Right.
And I mean, Tanea, you saw it. I mean, again, the key thing here is, that we can't work off of the vehicle. The vehicle navigating the street is one thing that theoretically, if everything is perfect, can be done. We covered that at the site meeting, but even if everything is perfect, we can't actually work from the vehicle. That's the big difference.
All right, gentlemen in the back, if you can come up and just state your name and your address.
Thanks, Mike.
And I'm assuming one of these houses is yours. It's in the picture.
Good evening. My name is Dana Clark. I own 103 Lehman Street. My family also owns 301 North Cedar, which has a garage that fronts on Lehman. So I'm sort of here as a representative for myself and for the family. So I guess one of the questions is that I wanted to ask Mike was so being on that street all the time, I can tell you there's not enough parking. So I guess what data did you indicate or use to suggest that, we now can park adequately by eliminating over half of the parking on the street?
Yeah,
Good to
so,
see you.
yeah, so we shared this data at the site meeting. So, over a period of, a week and a half, starting on October 21st, going through October 28th, at various times. The earliest time was 6:30 in the morning. The latest time, it looks like, was 8:30 p.m. So based on a random selection of times on various days, we had anywhere from 7 cars parked on the street to 13 cars parked on the street. So rough numbers, when we just were like out there, again, this was all rough. Nothing was laid out. We said based on the amount of street frontage, we believed we could park anywhere from 18 to 20 cars on one side of the street. So some of that may be affected by, sidewalk breaks and that kind of stuff. But again, those were rough numbers. So, the maximum number of cars that we had at any one time was 13. So that's what we were working.
Right, and obviously, we have a garage in that section, which impacts that number. There's another garage on the other side. There's the alley. There are significant breaks in that curb linear footage. And I guess, Mr. Mick, you were out there, you saw how many cars are out there. So I guess my question is, where do those people go? And, it's like, it's easy to say that, oh, well, they'll just have to find someplace else, but parking continues to be an issue in the borough. You hear it all the time. This will not certainly, make that better. And these are people that just want to go to their house and park. And I guess my other question for you, Mike, was, this street has not changed in 40 years, 50, since we were kids. So I guess what is so different about it now? And why are you unable to use the alley system as a way to supplement access for your vehicles?
So it's not necessarily that anything is different now. It's really just one of those, now, if anything that's different is for the past year plus, I've been an employee as opposed to a volunteer. So now I have, more responsibilities, more time, these kind of things are a focus of my daily activities. So this has been a street that for as long as Dana pointed out, I've been in the fire company for 34 years, and for 34 years, I've known that this street is an access problem. So somehow, somewhere along the line, who knows when, decades and decades ago, this 24-foot wide street was missed when parking regulations were put in and that kind of stuff. And it just was let go. Again, there's only 10 houses, so it probably wasn't a big deal. There's not a large call volume. I think we talked about it at the site meeting. The last time we were on this street was 3 or 4 years ago. So knock on wood. Let's hope it stays that way. But at the same time, I wouldn't be doing my job, and we don't want to get in a position where the public comments are, how did you not know about this? How did we not take care of this? So, working through the Emergency Services Commission, we brought this known problem to light and said, this is something we should look at, something we should talk about. The fact then that we did the parking counts, we felt that this was an easy fix because based on what we were seeing, it looked like the street could accommodate one side of the street parking. So we weren't envisioning that we were going to create this situation where we were displacing dozens and dozens of cars. We felt we just needed to clean up the way that they were being parked and the problem would be solved. So
because I guess if you're saying without it being delineated, you're saying you could fit 18 to 20 on there. So if all of the parking is allowed, you're saying that there's 40 parking spaces roughly currently. I'm just doubling your 18 to 20.
theoretically, yes.
So I guess the chant that we got to just have the thought of, do we think we need 40 parking spaces?
Well, and the question is too, based on your zoning, how many parking spaces would be required if this was new development? So it's probably everyone on that block has at least vehicles. So it's not like it's just, oh, there's 7 or 8 houses. It's at least double or triple that in the number of vehicles. Certainly each residence or most of them have multiple. So just something else as you guys work through the process, you may want to look at. So
Dana, were you at the public meeting?
I was unable to attend the public meeting.
Okay.
So that's why I came to say, hey, these are some of the things I was thinking through as a resident. So anyway,
Okay.
I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Gentleman in the green, you want to come on up?
wanted to say that
Please start
when
with
the
you.
parking was checked on this street, on holidays, our families come and I have my parking in the back, but my street isn't full, but when on holidays, the people try to park, there won't be enough room for the people that have their families come for like Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's all I wanted to state.
Thank you. Any other comments? I mean, definitely from the commentary we're hearing tonight, I think there's a little bit more work and study to occur. I'm just trying to think of the right suggestions or guidance to give you guys. How many
Steve.
weeks did you survey? Like,
The first count was October 1st.
trying to think of the best way to get the most cumulative data that we can make the right decision. Again, I'm thinking, in typical developments, getting parking studies and everything. Again, I don't want to get the full extent of a parking study, but I'm trying to figure out, okay, over a period of time, how can we figure out how many cars are the maximum? I mean, again, do we have to check it over Thanksgiving, over Christmas, or something else that we can try to figure out more than just the week there?
Hey, Steve.
Hold on one sec, Ken. Resident speaking here.
Yeah, it would have been because we did the 8 days were like consecutive. So it would have included every day of the week.
My recommendation is to try to figure out how we can take a lengthier study to figure out, what is my assumption, and just my assumption is there's probably never 40 cars on that street, which is if we're saying just a linear foot of curbing, that we can get 20 with what's remaining there. There's probably not a need for 40, but what is the maximum that we should still need to have there, so it's not creating a challenge for anybody that does live there? Again, the point they've had this way for a period of time. It's not like we can say, all right, just park around the half a block and there's 5 more spaces there. But Mary,
There's another resident, it looks like, who'd like
No.
to speak.
want to
And then I do have a comment as well.
I'm Pat Gockley and I live at 110 Lehman Street. We have parking in back of our house, okay? Our problem is you have people that have trucks. You have people that have 2 or 3 cars per family. And the way they park, the truck could take up 2 spaces.
Right.
And where do we park? On Water Street, it's limited because of the houses on Water Street park there. If you're familiar with Lehman and Water there.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do we park on the other side of Water Street, block that lane? Then we have people on Cedar Street that park on our street. Our big issue is at the end of Lehman Street going to Cedar.
The north side up there.
Right.
Because there's a fire hydrant and a driveway, and then there's 2 cars. But on the other side, they're parked there because they don't have parking on Cedar Street. So they're taking up some of our spaces. But, we're fortunate we can park behind our home. But I understand the safety. I don't want my house burned down and them not be able to get there. So, the solution is trying to figure out where we park.
Right. Well, and that's what I said. I mean, let's do some further study to figure out, again.
See, on the other side, we have older residents, not that I'm young, but they want to park in front of their house. They don't want to have to drag groceries in the wintertime. It's so many issues.
My neighbor, I live on Main Street. She likes to park right on Main Street rather than go behind North Lane. So
They want right in front of their house. So, that's the attitude that's going on now. Neighbors are going to start fighting against each other for parking space. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
any other comments from residents? Nay, you getting enough feedback here?
I am.
Gary,
No, I think.
Yes,
Yeah, I
Mary.
was just going to suggest it would be helpful to have a a map of the entire street with the houses and who has access to the off-street parking. Just in order to have a better assessment of it.
My assumption is again, I'm familiar with that area. I walk there. You can start to see right by Chief's Head there where the alley is. It's probably those 4 or 5 homes on the north side definitely do not have parking behind.
There is a little street that goes back there.
That goes back to those.
Oh, it's a private alley.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
private alley in the homes there. So
parks in it a lot of the time.
those 4 or 5 houses do not have parking from the rear, but I'm pretty confident the ones down there do. Dana has.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Second.
I think he can't hear. But If you can come up to the mic.
I'll come back to you here in a minute, Ken. We got a resident that's sharing some more thoughts.
Okay, I didn't hear. Thank you.
So I think if you're going to do a study, I think that's a great idea. You need more data really to make a better decision. I concur. And I think what I would do is make sure you are mapping where that fire hydrant is, how many spaces are currently disallowed because of where that is. You know, make sure we pick up all the private alleys, make sure we pick up the driveways. And then you can certainly lay out the required number of spaces, or your engineer can, or, Elijah can even do that and just lay out how many spaces, it really is going to change.
We'll have our borough engineer look at it because you're right. I mean, it's the fire hydrants. There's a certain section away from intersections. So you're not taking the site triangles. We got to do more than just take the linear foot. So we got to take the total linear foot and then start to take away what is not allowable.
Correct.
Right
And
now.
I think Mike's is an obvious first step. That study is what you needed to do first. But now that we know, and we've heard some more testimony, I think obviously need to get into the weeds and figure out exactly what the delta is between what's currently available and what we're thinking about. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate the suggestions. Ken, I'll come to you 1 minute. Mary had a comment.
I was just suggesting, I don't think Ken could hear.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ken, you had some suggestions?
Is it my turn?
That's your turn.
Oh, okay. Hey, while we have Mike's expertise here, I would just like to hear if he could weigh in on what Dana's question was. Are the lanes of any value for access of his vehicles? I'm not sure I heard the answer and would like to just hear what Mike says on the lanes for the large trucks.
Yeah, so typically, an alleyway, while we will enter an alleyway when we have to and we can, I would say that is not a standard approach for us. Because of the size of the alley. I mean, most of the alleys, Andy would know this better, but most of the alleys in the borough, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, are anywhere from 10 to 14 feet wide at best. So, we're in a situation there where we're basically in the same position as we are with Lehman Street when it's parked on both sides. So, using to say that the alleyway would be an acceptable alternative because Lehman Street is not accessible, I don't think that that's the solution. But I'm just being careful because, an hour from now, there's going to be a fire somewhere and I'm going to have 2 fire trucks in an alley and someone's going to say, see, but I'm saying it can be done. It's just, it should not be our primary option, nor is it typically.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. We've got some more work to do.
Okay. Moving on. Next on the agenda, UGI, East Second South Locust closure request. So as of this morning, we had reached, the borough had reached out to UGI, asking them to confirm delay of the delay to that road, I'm sorry, would not create a safety concern for residents. And we have not heard from them, correct, Rob? Still this morning, we have not heard back from them, so. Is that something maybe we could reach back out to them and email the individual again and just ask if he would respond to us? Next, the Pretzel Twist 5K. That's going to be scheduled. This is a events application for September 21st, 2024. Starts from 8 a.m. and runs till 9:30 a.m. This is organized by the Lititz Rec Center. And they expect about 250 to 300 people. I would like to make a motion to accept the Pretzel Twist application for September 21st, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Next up is Lititz Rotary Craft Show. It's going to be scheduled for August 10th, 2024. Runs from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's put on by the Lititz Rotary Club. There'll be some road closures and bagged parking meters on Broad and Main up until Orange Street. And they're requesting 6 staff members. I'd like to make a motion to accept the Lititz Rotary Craft Show on August 10th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
The Lititz Moravian Spring Fest activity is scheduled for May 11th, 2024, runs from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's put on by the Lititz Moravian congregation, and it's going to be a spring celebration for families and children. And they're asking, working with the Warwick Community Ambulance to have an EMT service available as well. I'd like to make a motion to accept the Lititz Moravian Spring Fest activity on May 11th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Next up, a concert in the park. It's put on by the Lititz Springs Park. It's a free concert on Memorial Day weekend, May 25th, 2024. Runs from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it'll be featuring the Lancaster Symphony Orchestra. Like to make a motion to approve the concert in the park application for Saturday, May 25th, 2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
End of the year carnival. It's going to be scheduled for May 31st, 2024, running from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's put on by the Lititz, it's going to be at the Lititz Elementary School, put on by the Lititz Elementary PTO. Have some bouncy houses, some dunk tanks, ice cream truck, good old time. I'd like to make a motion for end of the year Lititz Elementary Carnival on May 31st, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
All right, last of the events, we have the bike and hike on Sunday, September 8th, 2024, running time from 12:30 in the afternoon to 4:30 p.m. This is organized from the Kobe's Family Services. It'll be consisting of 25 or a 10-mile bike and walking through downtown Lititz. I'd like to make a motion to approve the bike and hike on Sunday, September 8th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Couple other things I wanted to mention. I've got a couple I'm going to mention a couple of traffic studies. So the 6th Street Extension Traffic Study, the Eastern Extension Traffic Studies, they're continuing to collect data. And I believe once the construction and paving is done and finished for the Moravian Manor on the Western Extension this summer, and once school and traffic patterns are back to normal, like in the fall, the borough's planning on performing a comprehensive traffic study on both extensions, and then we will release those results to the public once we get a complete picture.
So I wasn't aware. So there are, is the township collecting data on the eastern part that's open?
Jordan's been collecting the speed sensor off of that detector. That is, so it's not on the.
That's in the borough. Okay,
it's
not
on
the
borough.
extension
So-
be on.
Correct. He's been taking the overall traffic counts and speed for the past 2 years.
Okay. I thought you meant that had been studying it east of Kissel Hill.
There was a little bit. They borrowed one at one point, but it wasn't nearly as comprehensive as what we have in the borough.
Because I think that's going to be, that data will be critical because obviously there never was a road there before. So now if we see there's 20 more cars coming in, that means there's 20 more cars continuing through. I'm generically saying 20, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay.
Any other questions on that one? All right, I want to tell you about another traffic study. The borough wrote PennDOT a letter back in January of 2024, asking for a traffic study to be done on Orange and Spruce Street intersection. So PennDOT recently wrote the borough back after a thorough investigation. Based on the results, no safety enhancements were recommended at this time. But they did, however, say the borough may want to consider changing the on-street parking to improve the corner sight distance for vehicles exiting Spruce Street. Chief, would you mind weighing in on your thoughts on whether considering a parking modification?
I'll
would make
just
sense?
share, I'll share with the rest of the council members, this is what I was referring to earlier about where we striped. That is where we did it 2-3 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
But if anybody looks there, that's what we did do a few years ago in Orange. We painted yellow curb there so no one would park for whatever length. And then we put parking blocks because we were getting rid of 4 or 5 parking spaces by giving a better sight there. But yeah. And it's still, I mean, I come through there. It's still people like inchy out. Even if there's cars parked down there, you're trying to nose out to see if somebody's coming, and that's probably what causes the accidents.
Okay. All right, so no recommendation, keep it as
Yeah,
is.
We've gotten rid of I can't remember. I remember when we did this a few years ago, we took away quite a few spaces there already.
Okay. All right, appreciate it. Another issue, the borough was contacted recently by Keller Brothers Ford in Lititz, that they've been having issues with non-Keller Brothers customers traversing from Dunkin' Donuts across their parking lot to get to Spruce Street. So they're using it basically as a thoroughfare and at an unsafe speed. So last week, there actually was a reported car accident in their parking lot, Keller Brothers parking lot. So Keller Brothers wrote to us thinking that maybe they could put up a sign that says maybe no through traffic. They aren't sure if it's going to help. So Chief, anything you can speak of on this issue? I mean, I know, again, it's private property. They can do whatever they want. Any other thoughts besides potentially putting a sign up?
Remind that they're coming from Spruce through their big open parking lot to get to Dunkin' Donuts.
No, they're leaving Dunkin' Donuts and they're going straight across, and it is basically lines up.
Yeah, last week, like I said, customer's car was there, an employee was taking it for service and they got T-boned in the parking lot. So unfortunately for those people, but I mean, we had the same problem behind ELA Group. They shut off their parking there on Raspberry Lane. Obviously, that's not a choice for Keller Brothers because that is their service entrance. Everybody comes in and out of there for service. Signs, yes, but do people read signs? No. So, I mean, I really no other suggestions other than that because they are going through that parking. And in theory, how Dunkin' Donuts, Elijah, correct me if I'm wrong, that's supposed to be curved enough. They're only supposed to allow to go north on Broad Street, but they're just cutting across then.
That's correct. When we had that design, we tried to force them to make the right turn, but people are going elsewhere.
There is a left turn there, no left turn coming off of Dunkin' Donuts and trying to turn south on Broad. And I don't know if that happens that often, but people are people. They make that choice. And obviously that person has to pay. I don't want to see anyone get hit because a lot of employees and staff from Keller Brothers leaves the garage to go get a car back and forth. So I understand it's an issue. I mean, just thinking about it now, maybe Keller Brothers wants to put a speed table in there or a speed bump or something like that to discourage people from driving through their parking lot.
Right.
Because if they want to save 30 seconds, that's what they're trying to do. Instead of turning right, going down the light. And a lot of the folks are living, I feel they're probably living back off of West 6th Street, back in that development back in there. They're just cutting across there.
Okay.
That's about the only suggestion. We really can't enforce it because it's private parking.
Right.
But, you know, speed hump, speed table, that'd be something that would discourage people from doing it. Once they have to go over that, they won't want to do it again.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hang out there a second. I got
Oh.
one more. Oh, yes.
Yeah, PennDOT technically can, when that went through land development, PennDOT would have reviewed that and the engineers would have said, you know, based on the traffic, you know, you got to turn right in, right out.
Well, it's really not, it's access. When you pull out in the roadway, you have to yield the right of way. So if you try to cut across there and, you know, try to turn left or go out, then you'd be at fault for that. So. Mhm. Yeah, we have the same thing on West 7th Street. When you come from like West 7th to Broad, Wise is on your right-hand side. There is no left turns there because we had accidents there. So everybody's required to turn right. That's legally binding. We've stopped and cited people for that.
You'll see on planning commission, Todd, there'll be a lot of times that'll come in there that it's right in, right out. You'll hear that term utilized a lot when the traffic condition, when the traffic study requires. I don't know exactly with Elijah with that, but I know that's why they had that exit go out the back alley.
I just had one comment that, looking at the exit from Dunkin' Donuts, on the right side, there's a stop sign and there's a sign that says all traffic must turn right. But there is an opportunity on the left side of the exit to maybe put a no left turn, just to specifically catch people who are looking to the left because they want to turn left or think they can turn left or go across. There's a nice right. I know you can't fix stupid. I know, but I'm thinking one more opportunity to to tell people no left turn. And I don't know if there's a sign that says no left turn and no straight across, but maybe just the opportunity to put one more sign there that says no left turn on the left side of that exit.
Some sharper right.
There'll be a sharper curve to it. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Next one, my last one, I promise. Parking meters. So Borough received some numerous complaints about the downtown parking meters not working properly and the instructions are not very clear. So since the borough received a fair amount of complaints, Chief, I was hoping you could contact the company that we purchased these equipment from and possibly see if we can get any kind of assistance from them, or if there's some instructions that were missing, because there's multiple complaints and I'd like to be able to give them something to go back with.
I don't want to take a lot of time. We have two types of meters. A meter that serves one space. That's pretty simple. You walk up to the meter, you see it's your space, put your credit card in, your money in. It's the ones that we tried to save some time and some effort. A lot of spaces on Main Street, East Main Street, South Broad Street are double space meters. So when you come up to that meter, it says press arrow for your parking space, basically left or right. People are failing to do that. They're not reading the directions. And so if they push that space and if they know if they're on the left space, they push that, then they can just follow along there and then you put your credit card in. Some of the print is small. I agree with it. I put my glasses on to be able to see it. I was going to put signs on each meters, but again, do people read the signs? That's my question. With basically directions. And if you want me to do that, it's going to be a cost, but I will more than gladly type something up and would have to put it on a plate on the meter, but it would probably be below the meter. So people would have to read that. So, you know, we've talked with Duncan. People also got to remember there's basically a SIM card in each of those meters. When you insert your credit card, it has to send it to the cloud to be able to register that credit card. So it does take up to 30 seconds sometimes and not longer to register that. And also a lot of things down on Main Street, it's being a little bit of a hollow. There's not a lot of good reception sometimes in that area with the SIM card. So it does cause a problem at times. So yes, we know there's an issue, but that's why we made it cash too. So people just put the cash. People just got to remember they're at a double space. They got to push that arrow left or right to be able to know what space they put it in. So, I mean, I'll gladly call them. I'm not sure how much guidance they could give us more than we could do it ourselves.
And in my experience, the issue is more with the credit card processing.
Mhm.
So it must be those spaces that are bad reception. I don't know if there's anything that they can suggest to improve that.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Doubt it, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we pay a monitoring fee, monthly monitoring fee. It's $781 a month to monitor these meters. It's $550 for a single meter and $850 for a double meter. So that's why I tried to have some double meters put in there, kept the cost down a little bit. But people wanted this type of meter, but we have to pay on the end of it too. But last year, I don't want to quote exactly, but in 2023, there was revenue of almost $120,000 in meters. So the $781 a month is a small amount to have the convenience of using credit cards.
Absolutely.
So if you want to talk about that today, I can certainly look at some type of direction and have signs made up. But I'm not sure what else I can do.
Okay. I'll reach out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
All right. Yeah, as long as it's around these specific topics. Yeah, we have an open session at the end if it's nothing that's on the agenda, but if it's about the agenda, absolutely. Come on up.
My name is Dave Hilbert. I live on Kissel Hill Road, right near 6th Street. And I've lived there for the last 54 years. And I've seen a lot of traffic change on that street. And I've made many calls to the police department, to the borough, now to the township in some cases. And I'm getting absolutely nowhere with the speed going down on that street and more control on that street. We have the intersection there where there's 2 stop signs. And now I'm hearing that possibly a study, which I was told by the township folks was going to be done this spring, is now going to be done the end of the summer. There's a lot of time in between there. And the traffic going up the hill, oh, that's a neat hill to go up. So at my house, they start racing. They go up that hill. And when they come down the hill, there's no reason to stop going down there. We'll just let the car coast as it goes along the street until we get up to around Snavely's house or so, that cul-de-sac. Then they probably coasted down to it. But something needs to be done. And I don't know what this study is going to show, whether we need stop signs, traffic lights, circles, or what. What are we looking for here? What will this study tell us?
Anything, Elijah, you can.
Well, I think the study you're speaking about with the township that was done in the spring, that's something the developer is required to do. At this point in time, we haven't seen that, so I don't believe it's completed. What we're looking at is doing our own study for the portions of 6th Street in the borough, and that would have some traffic improvements. As you know, the intersection at Kissel Hill and 6th is only partially in the borough. From what I've heard, any of the traffic improvements that are there are on that developer and Warwick Township to pay for. But that would be something that would come out of that study that they would be doing. So what we would be looking to do in the fall is really look at the portions in the borough.
And what we've been waiting for, just with the time again, because the portion of 6th Street that's within the borough is kind of like right where your residence, I'm assuming, is. And then it goes all the way over to where it connects the new 6 connecting to Orange, which is supposed to be opening soon. And we've been waiting for that to open so we could start to see, okay, how is the traffic going to generate with that new option to continue all the way through?
It looks frankly like you're getting snowballed by the developer over there, that they're not going to open that street. We've had Reserve, that's the developer that's taken care of
that's
all
in the
those homes.
township.
That's in the
Yeah,
township. Okay. But when he had to put in the road there for his homes and that, he had to put a base in that was suitable for all those cars up there and all the construction to be able to drive up there. And they did that. And cars were able to go in there. Now we're being told that because the contractor doesn't want to put the finished coat on over there toward Orange Street, that we can't drive through there.
Yeah.
We're getting too many
On Orange
conflicting
Street, there was a
stories.
couple other, the Moravian Manor area there.
Mhm.
There was a couple other things that was relevant to the utilities that was working through, but my understanding, I know you and I were texting the other week, Elijah, they just put the final wearing
they
course
did.
on.
They
Yeah.
did,
So
yeah.
it's
It's starting to
that
be.
side, I'll call it the western side of Sixth, is soon going to be opening. That's what we've been waiting for.
Okay, well, now as I understand it, Kissel Hill Road at Sixth Street. Coming down Kissel, not the
Over
big
by the
hill.
library.
Yeah, come down past my house to the Sixth Street there. That's Kissel Hill and Sixth Street.
Mhm.
You turn right and you go up toward Keller Brothers.
Mhm.
That's in the borough. You could put a stop sign there if you want to. And if you want to walk over, I'll gladly walk over. Elijah, I'll go with you. And we'll talk with the township people. I'm sure, heck, I'll even buy the stop signs to put them in there.
Just so you know, too, we've talked to, there's Sixth Street residents here. We've gone through this. We technically cannot just put the signs in. We've got to go through the study, and PennDOT's got to look at the recommendations from the study and give us direction from it. So that's why we have to start with the study, so we can get PennDOT's, approval on what we can do. We can't just go ahead and start putting it where we want them.
Okay, one more question and I'm done for the night. The development up there, the reserve, has all kinds of traffic signs, stop signs, all through that development at every intersection. When you go up through Butterfly Acres and those streets, they have stop signs at every one of those intersections, 4-way stops. You mean there were traffic studies done for those?
First of all, one's in the township and one's in the borough, so I don't know exactly what the township's ordinance requires, but every time a new development, I wasn't around when Butterfly Acres was developed back then, but there would have been requirements they would have had to submit through. Anytime you put new roads in, it does end up going through PennDOT and through the planning commission. We've got a planning commission member here, and they do give the recommendations by the engineering standards where the signs go and they don't go.
Okay, so then the borough would have those records that if
I'm
I
sure
see 'em, I'll
somewhere
show 'em to 'em?
Elijah probably has the Butterfly Acres record somewhere.
They should be on the approved land development plans. They're usually determined by speed, site distance, assortment of
All right, well,
factors.
I'll check with you then.
Sure.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Dave and I have had many conversations on the phone. I've known him for many years. What you said is not correct. When Butterfly Acres went in over 20 years ago, I'll be really quite honest, the residents wanted 4-way stop signs and the borough put them up, and there were no traffic studies done. I was sent to figure this out, because what happened was one of our officers stopped somebody at Cedar and 4th Street for a traffic violation. And the gentleman was an engineer for ELA Group. And he said, show me your traffic study. And there was none. So what we had to do is we contacted PennDOT, since they were up for a number of years already. We contacted PennDOT at that time and we grandfathered those signs in. From that date forward, everything we've done has done a traffic study. So that was, I don't know, over 20 years ago. So if you look for records, Elijah, you're not going to find any.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been in the borough for 28 years now. So yeah, Butterfly Acres was there before I was.
Okay,
here.
so
That's over 30 years.
all right, so I was part of that to have to try to fix this problem. And, we wrote to PennDOT and got them grandfathered because they felt it was too unsafe to take away the stop signs that had already been in place. So they said you can grandfather them in. But from then on out, everything we've done to hit a 4-way stop. And it's very difficult because I had been watching Kissel Hill and Oak Street for many years, and Dave knows that. Finally, we met the criteria. We had the traffic study done, and we were allowed to put the 4-way stop up. The problem with Kissel Hill and 6th Street, half that intersection's in the borough, which if you're going east on 6th and come to Kissel Hill Road, to the middle of the street's the borough. The other way you're coming, in the middle of the street is a township.
But just so everybody knows, all of that's what we too have been looking at it where we want to see the all-inclusive information once it's open, both
Mhm.
sides, and then get that study done and then get the proper recommendation.
And we've had crashes there. Some have been in Warwick Township, some have been in the borough. So we're trying to tabulate that together. I'm kind of keeping track of the borough side of it. And so
Yeah.
it is a complicated thing.
No, that intersection is interesting.
Yeah.
I've sat there trying to turn left, to go towards my house on Main Street, and it's
Yeah, I mean,
tough to get out.
there has to be some type of traffic control done there sooner or later. It's going to just be more and more involved. It's a four-way stop. That's what I would vote for. And don't hold me to it, but that's what I would look at right now. There's no reason people coming down that hill could not stop in time.
Yep.
Don't tell me you can't stop because there's plenty of flat there to stop.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that would be the time. I mean, it's the trigger point is that opening over there, and we get the study started. So, and that's on our annual goals. We want to get that study done this year.
I just wanted to straighten it out. So I didn't want somebody to come back and start looking for something because there wasn't any. So apologize.
Yeah, what I was recommending is when you did the land development study for Butterfly Acres, somewhere within that study was showing where all the stop signs went. So, all right. Any other public comments on traffic and streets? All right, moving on to finances. Ken, you're back up.
Okay, the first item of business is just to review the financial statements there. So, council, you have the general fund and you have the revenue that's been recorded there. You'll see that we're trailing a little bit there, our expenses, but that's normal this time of year. It will begin to catch up as taxes are collected and will get us in balance. Things are fairly normal in terms of everything. We're ahead on miscellaneous income because of some of the street openings that we've approved, and that's put us ahead at this point. Expenses are pretty much on target for this part of the year, so we're where we should be. Any questions from council?
Anyone? No questions here, Ken.
Okay, hearing none, I move to approve the Lititz Borough financial statement and pay all of our invoices.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, Steve, I just have a couple items to share from the subcommittee on finance. One of our goals this year is to establish a funding plan for capital projects based on the capital scorecard. And we introduced that concept for the first time last month, and we continue to work on that. So that was the first item of business at our meeting on Monday, the 29th. One of the things that we've realized is that our first draft is not good enough. We need to do better. So we did some research to try to help focus on the police and public works vehicles. They're not the same. They need to be evaluated differently. So after our research, we've got some new criteria that's real objective, and it gives leaders and our staff a better way to approach evaluating their vehicles and then determining when they should be replaced. So we continue to work on that. After this last meeting, Rob is going to prepare a new draft, and then we're going to work with our leaders in the police department as well as Public Works to do a few vehicles that we have right now and see if this new model is actually working and answer any questions that may come up. So our next steps is to do that and get some valuable feedback from the chief and from Andy. The second thing I want to share with everybody is that the borough has a tradition of updating the sewer and water fees after doing a study that analyzes the updated cost and improvements and so forth. We hire a professional to do that, and we do it on a 5-year intervals. The finance committee has got together, and we'd like to make some changes with that longstanding policy. And this year, we would like to change the intervals to every 2 years where we evaluate and update the rates. We also have noticed that it's difficult to project costs 5 years out. And so we'd like to recognize that and then work with our members over at Infomark and help them with their operational budget as well as their capital expenses. And we think just having a 2-year horizon will help us be more accurate and zeroing in on what our costs really are. And then finally, we'd like to utilize for the first time a financial consultant to analyze our data and make sure we're tracking everything properly in conjunction with the industry expert to really analyze an accurate rate for our community. These steps, the Infomark budget, the two studies should be completed by the third quarter of 2024, and we'll use this information to help us in our budgeting process, and we'll share that with everybody. The final thing that we worked on or started to plan is that we'd like to give a mid-year financial report for the Lititz Borough, and so we're developing that data. That mid-year report will cover data from January 1st through June 30th, and it will be presented at the July 2024 council meeting. Steve, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Yeah, we have comments specifically on finance, right? Never, David, never. Just finances.
Appreciate the time. Dave Carson, I live at 220 East 6th Street, and I appreciate all you guys being here. Here we are, April 30th, 2024, the last day for real estate taxes to be paid within the discount period. For the new council members and some of the citizens, a bit of history lesson. In 2022, December, council passed its year 2023 general fund budget with a 63% real estate tax increase. Yes, that's correct. Astounding. They were going to bring in $950,250 more in real estate taxes for 2023. They also increased garbage-free rate 67%. Again, that's accurate, an astounding number. Bringing in net number of $197,921 over what they're going to pay the service provider. Between these two, the fees for the garbage fees and real estate tax in 2022, the borough said they're going to bring in $1,147,971 in funds for 2023 over 2022. We were told at the time they needed this money to pay for all the expenses, and that by doing these increases, they're only going to have an increase or a surplus of $18,490. So now we have the 2023 numbers I received as a right to know request the other day, and it says that the borough for 2023 had an actual revenue increase over expenses of $1,679,380. Subtract out capital expenditures of $439,347 to equate the report to the budget method. The borough, in its essence, had a profit for 2023 of $1,240,033. Yes, a profit by the borough, an excess of revenue over expenses, $1,240,033, not $18,000. So the question is, why did that happen and what's going to happen going forward? In addition, the borough profited $169,000 from garbage fees collected over what they paid the provider. So it kind of makes you wonder what's going on. Was this really council's intent when they raised the taxes and garbage fees? What's the level of transparency, or was there some deceit? So going forward, the council should reduce the real estate taxes and the garbage freeze rates increased amounts. It is clear the borough did not need these funds. Secondly, as the borough is going through their capital projects analysis, this money should not be used as a wish list. It should be prudent and honest and transparent. Finally, in the year 2025 budget presentation, the borough should go back to what they've done before and provide actual numbers in the budget process as they did before. So I just want everybody to know, when you paid your taxes today, you paid 63% more, and the borough said they're going to make $18,000 in 2023. They made $1,240,000. And I hear from myself and other people I talk to in the council that people are saying it's becoming unaffordable for senior
Thank you,
citizens,
David.
disabled. You didn't cut him off.
It's
disabled
discretion of
people
the
to cut
president.
off.
Please sit down, David.
Okay.
Thank you.
Act evenly, Steve.
Thank you. Any other public comments regarding finances? All right, moving on. Jerry.
Yeah,
personnel.
sure. So I'm happy to announce the employment of Belinda Eady as the part-time administrative assistant in the police department at a hourly rate of $23 per hour. And this is going to be effective May 6, 2024. This position replaces another position, someone who retired or left the position, so it's not a new position. And this position was advertised, and we went through the due diligence process to find this candidate. So I know the chief was happy to have this person join. We'll be happy to have this person join your staff on May 6th.
Anything else? I know you've been busy, but
That's everything for now.
okay. Moving on, planning.
Thank you. The Planning Commission has 2 items on their agenda that carried over for the past couple of months. Just by way of informing council, you've seen this in your packets. But the first one is the A-frame sign update and an ordinance. That's a request of merchants. And the second is a submission from the new owners of the Warwick Street storage facility to expand the initial footprint of not physical footprint land-wise, but up
The height.
the height of that facility. So those are the 2 things that are going on at planning right now.
Elijah, I did read that, and that was back when I was on the planning commission. I remember the verticality, just so you have the street presence and the streetscape there. It was going to be originally 2 or 3 story.
There's going to be 2 stories. The new owners is requesting to go up to 4 stories for the 2 buildings that have not been built. So it'll be the one that will be facing Warwick Street and will be the 3rd one from the street. So right now, there's an RV storage unit that is the furthest from the street.
Right.
And there's what I think they call building 2, which would be like the middle building. So it'd be 4 stories, 2 stories, 4 stories, and then 1 story in the back.
I just want to make sure it was a continuance of the verticality of what we had approved for the apartment building there going through, because we didn't want it there and then go down to a shorter building. So
It'll be a lot closer to the apartment building's height now.
all right. Anything else, Christine?
All right.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether finance.
Come on up and I'll help figure out which group it would go into.
Dave Hilbert again from Kissel Hill Road. One thing looking ahead, as I had mentioned before, I'm aware of a lot of building going on in both the township and the borough. And I think the borough services the township sewer facilities and all.
It's one combined authority.
Yes, one combined authority. And with all this building that's going on now, Dave had mentioned about the budget and how we were asked to pay an increase of 63%. I don't want those things to happen in the future. I want them to be planned for now. If we got to put 10% of that aside for a new sewage treatment plant, what is our capacity of this sewage treatment plant? And how close are we to being full?
Our buddies in the 3rd row will be the best to answer that, but that is part of why we hire them, as they're looking at that and looking at the planned future developments and the EDUs and everything that we have the capacity for. And I
3.8, you said? 3.85 million. Okay, and that means what to how many residents? Oh, okay, yeah. But I mean, even in that development right across from me, they just keep building and building. I don't know how many units are in there now. There's got to be around 150 or maybe more units. So takes a lot of house.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that
Yeah.
if you come to one of the planning commission meetings, that's a big part of the discussion. The engineers have to figure the capacity. I remember there was a development going to happen here on Broad Street years ago. We didn't have the capacity. We actually had to go through some different work before they would be even able to do that. Because
Right.
to your point, if a developer is going to have some big thing, massive development, and it's going to require improving the systems, a lot of times that's put onto the developers too. If
Yeah, I
they're
was
going
gonna say they ought
they're
to
going
be
to push
paying
the
for it,
capacity.
yeah, right.
And
Well, I just wanted to bring it up to the board that you're thinking about it for the future planning. And, you know, that I can be assured that we're not going to get hit with another increase like that it's planned for.
yeah, I could share. There's definitely a lot of that. Again, if you want to learn more of it, come to Todd and the Planning Commission. There's a lot of the discussion specifically on those
Okay.
items there.
All right, well, and I know which commission to go to. Thank you.
All right. Mary, zoning, anything?
No report.
Buildings and grounds, Ken?
Yeah, Steve, I just got a couple of things. We did not meet in April. However, there was some activity in our committee and the things that we're supporting. The Sixth Street Park had some progress. All the equipment has been delivered, it's been installed, and there's been safety checks, so it's operational. We still have some unfinished business, though. We have a fence that is on order that has not come. It'll be installed once it arrives. We do have some backfilling and grading and some seeding of grass that needs to be completed as time allows from the Public Works crew. Mulch has been spread. So that's the update there. And then the Buildings and Grounds Committee received a Lititz residents request of perhaps would we consider doing some tree identification in our parks and maybe doing a little more for our identifying Lititz as a tree city. So we're doing some research on that, and we're gonna get involved on how to answer and proceed and go forward. That's my report.
Yeah, I'd heard from some of the Public Works folks. I think it's the fencing and the sign. Eventually that's going to go out the park are the last of things, other than, like you said, some of the topsoil backfilling. But I was happy, again, I drove by there today. It's being well used by the community. All right, anything else? You're good, Ken?
That's it. That's a wrap.
Moving on to benefits insurance, Jerry.
No report.
Regional plan, Mary?
Yeah, I can report that due to the work of the core working group and our consultants, the plan should be released hopefully the beginning of May, and we'll go to the Planning Commission. So keep your ears open. We are waiting to see how the consultants come with preparing that final draft for public review. And again, this is the comprehensive plan update for the Warwick region. So next stop will be the Planning Commission.
You're thinking planning in June.
It'll actually be most likely July, because the county and the adjacent municipalities outside the region have 45 days. And then the next time that'll be after the 45 days will be the July Planning Commission meeting.
Okay.
You're talking about the Lititz Borough Planning Commission meeting.
Correct. They'll review any comments that are received from the neighbors and then allow the public as well to weigh in for that. If everything goes well, they'll offer a recommendation for council's consideration at that point.
Maybe here, August.
Yeah, probably September.
Anything else, Mary?
Nope, that's it.
All right, that concludes the council members forum. Nobody has any other items that were not hit on the agenda? No? All right, report from the borough engineer was included. Any questions from anyone there? Council members? All right. You have the report from the mayor, the chief of police. Anything you want to share that you haven't already, chief?
Yeah.
You sure?
I just have one thing that you mentioned, the trees. It is in environmental report, but we have been named the tree city again. So you saw that in your email. So that's a good thing.
Yep. Nothing mayor, nothing police. Last one from you have the reports from the managing directors. Elijah, do you have anything to add?
A couple of things to just highlight. Staff met with Fire Commissioner Ober earlier this month to provide input to the countywide hazard mitigation plan. So this will go actually and feed into the larger South Central Pennsylvania's hazard mitigation plan, which is 7 counties in South Central PA. They are actually asking for citizen input as well. So if you Google Lancaster County Hazard Mitigation Plan, they have a survey asking for public perception on various threats. So these are natural threats, flooding, windstorms, lightning storms, snowstorms, as well as things like cybersecurity, opioid addiction, things along those lines. One of the things the runabout line is moving forward. However, it's become obvious that there were land swaps that were done between the borough and the school district that were actually never recorded. So we have plans that say that the land was given to the borough. But in order to do the land swap, we need to make sure that the parcels in question are complete. So our solicitor. What's that?
Handshakes years ago or what?
There were legal descriptions. It looks like, I don't know the history, but it looks like it was supposed to be fulfilled by the school district and it just never got recorded. So we had to track down lot descriptions for one set. And then the other one we had actually in a file. So our solicitor is talking with their solicitor to try to figure out if we need to do that first or whether we can do it as a single subdivision land development with the land swap with the park. So that's been the latest wrinkle with the runabout line this month. Another thing I wanted to share with everyone is if you've driven on Main Street during rush hour, particularly before school or when school's letting out, the signal controller at Main and Brow was struck by lightning at the end of March. And this has caused some issues with the timing to the point that some of the traffic is very significant, particularly during the morning rush hour or the evening rush hour. We are aware of it. We've been working with the signal consultants to try to alleviate this. The past few days have seemed much better, so we're hoping things are working well. And we're hoping to get things documented to make sure that if this happens again, it can be quickly rectified. I think that's everything. So any questions?
Anyone? Rob, do you have anything to highlight?
Yeah, Steve, just a few things. First of all, from Andy, just another update come up for next month. Once they finish in 6th Street Park, water main, also get to work on curb line, weed spraying, and installation of new windows down at the reception area here on the first floor. For my report, to add on letter E there on the second page for HVAC bids, unfortunately, we did not receive a single bid for the HVAC replacement. Spoke with Mike Davis, and we are allowed to reach out to subcontractors to see if they'd be interested in submitting a proposal. It's just going to add time to it. They're going to have to be co-star vendors, things of that nature. So I think we can still get the project done. It's just going to take a little bit more time, and more than likely won't happen until after the summertime, I would assume at this point. I did ask one of the vendors who had downloaded some information, and the feedback I got from him was that there wasn't enough time to bid on it. I don't see that as being reasonable, as there's 8 weeks, including a pre-bid meeting, and all the information is there, and it's a pretty turnkey project. It's just a replacement and some controls. So that's what I have for the HVAC update. Update on letter F, the water ordinance review. We did receive documentation from NTEC approving the proposed change to material on our side of the water service line. We're going to include that in our building specs and get that up on our website for anybody to move or to use moving forward. And last one is J, audio visual. We are, I think, 2 for 2 as far as audio goes for those people attending remotely. So that is a good thing. In addition to that, I've met now with 3 different vendors I think we should, or what I'm recommending to council is that we circle in on the one who is a CoStar vendor. And then also to see if anyone from council would be interested in having like a demo of the proposed hardware that would be installed to see what that looks like in person and live. There's a couple options we have locally, maybe take an hour or so during the day to kind of look at it. But I think that'd be a valuable field trip for us to do so people can actually see what it is you're getting for those prices. I'd be happy just to send out some emails and get some feedback if that's okay with council.
Absolutely. Good idea.
Last but certainly not least, National Public Works Week, May 20th through the 24th. So if you see any of the guys down there at Public Works during that week, maybe say hello to them or say whatever. We have a nice little banner that we get every year. We put it up outside of Public Works. It's a theme every different year. So it's just a time we take a week out and celebrate the guys, get some lunch, stuff like that.
Did we do something in here last year with them?
2 years ago we did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Last year we just had some stuff down Public Works. So May 20th through the 24th. And that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Questions for Rob?
Thanks.
Okay. Rob? All right. No new business, unfinished business. Not sure Jerry or Ken, the goal update.
Yeah, Rob, do you have that goal sheet? Just to let the public know that we are working on the goals that we approved at the last time. And he'll put those up and you can see some progress made toward those goals. We still have some work to do to update a couple of things. We did start the transition process to talk about what will happen during that time for the chief. We are looking at updating the goals or the purposes for the committees and looking at the membership and finding a way to get those vacancies advertised so we get more people to join those committees. So I think we're making progress on our goals. We have some more work to do, but just wanted to update people on them.
The end game is obviously to have goals. Will they be posted, published, shared? What's the?
Yeah, I think the goal here was to make sure that we share those at each council meeting. So you have an update at the end of the year. It'll be nice to publish a bit of report on how we did with our goals.
Well, I think, and one suggestion I would make to each council, and you can handle it, council member handle it differently. And I know some of you do this. We'll say, hey, per one of our goals, two of our goal number one, our goal number two, when you're giving your report out in each of your committees, you can share the progress. I wouldn't say every month to reference all 3, 4, 5 of them that you have, but at least share, hey, we're making headway on goal number one, which is such and such. I think that would just be good each month for each council member to share if they're making progress. But I wouldn't say everyone. We're here all night if we go through every one of them. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Ken, do you have anything on that?
No, I think it was well presented, Jerry. Thank you. And Steve, I agree with you. As we, as council members, submit our reports, we can provide those updates that make it, pertinent to the situation. So yes, I agree.
I think might be helpful, Elijah. Obviously, we get our weekly packets from you, but maybe when you give the last one at the end of the month, maybe we'll just add a line item on there so that we all have that. So everybody, each council member can reflect on, review their goals, as they're getting prepared for the Tuesday meeting.
So just include the goal sheet as part of the last packet of the month.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Unfinished, no other business. Final thing, public comments. Anything that was not on the agenda, any new topics, anything that was not covered or spoken about already?
Can I just jump in quick? I just wanted to mention something for other business. So Elijah and I were talking, I think we're going to put on the main website any committee meetings that are canceled, so you don't have to click through many pages to find out if a committee's been canceled. So it'll be around the main page for all the public to be able to see. A lot easier.
All right. If there are no new comments. Oh, David, nothing that was on the agenda right before, no repetition, correct?
Dave Carson, 226th Street. As I start, Steve, you should follow your own rules. Don't tell me about rules. The borough should consider making a conflict of interest policy concerning borough council members, committee members, and board members. This policy be in addition to the PA ethics standards form that council already signs. Conflict of interest policy should state that council members, committee members, and board members shall not own nor be employed by a firm that in any manner provides services or sell goods to the borough unless there is no other means to acquire those services or goods. In addition, conflict of interest policy should state that if a council member leaves council for any reason for the period of at least 1 year after leaving council, the council member shall not own nor be employed by a firm that in any manner provides services or goods to the borough, unless there are no other options for the borough to purchase the services or goods. Seeing I have 2 minutes left, I want to state, as you saw tonight, council member, your president is very rude to me. He let other people speak over the 3 minutes at least twice, did not state their name. I think it's very inappropriate. We may have disagreements. I don't come up here and get disdainful to you. I don't expect you to do the same thing for me. So I hope all the council members will hold Mr. Lee to account that your own rules say, state your name, 3 minutes in length. At least 2 people got up and I had no issues with things that gone beyond the 3 minutes. And you right at my 3 minutes, you made a comment to me to sit down. I think you owe me an apology. You owe an apology to the other citizens. You owe an apology to your council members for your rude behavior towards me tonight. And I hope in the future you see yourself not doing this again. So I come here to make comments for the good of the borough, not just because of any personal animus. So I would hope that you don't have personal animus towards me. So I'm going to take my whole 3 minutes now and talk about it. The borough has problems. Your goals of being open and fiscally responsible is crazy. You said you're going to bring in $18,000. You pocketed $1,240,000. Not surprisingly, there's no comment tonight about that, though. There's no response. It was a deceitful thing to do. You lied. $1,240,000. You did not need the money. The money should go back to the taxpayers and the garbage fee people that are paying for that, not for the borough's coffers for a wish list. I sat here at the borough meeting and people in SSI and disabled people had to walk up here in walkers, say they could not afford the increases. It was being too expensive to live here. And you come back and you pocket $1.2 million that you did not need, nor do you need for 20 years in the future. So I hope the borough council members see what your president did tonight and how he acted towards me, and you have a commentary with him. It's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Todd?
Todd Dickinson, South Sioux Street. I just wanted to publicly thank Venture Lititz and all the volunteers who came out last Saturday for the Earth Day Cleanup Day, Arbor Day Cleanup Day. I've forgotten which one it is. Anyway, as a merchant on Main Street, it's a huge benefit to us. It's a huge benefit to the people who visit this town and to live in this town. Many dozens of volunteers come out. I know local businesses donate mulch and gardening equipment. But it's a great annual event. I haven't been on the Venture Lititz board in a couple of years, but I know how much time and how much pride the group puts into that cleanup event, and how much it benefits me as a business owner. So I just wanted to say that out loud.
Yeah, it was a great event. There was a lot of volunteers, and I just know from my daughter, there was various sports teams and everything that participated, and it was a really good turnout.
Thank you, Todd.
Any other public comments? Anything from the council? If not, one final thing.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you.